protesting?
I'm protesting right here because they killed a black man. He's the only good person that could be out here right now and protesting right now for his stuff.
Oh.
That's all I have to say.
What about you?
I'm protesting because I'm tired of police thinking just because they white that they can kill black people. And I'm tired of it happening. And I'm following what Martin Luther King did. He wants white people and black people to be equal, but the cops, they just think it's a joke. I don't care. I do this for 20 years if I have to. That's what I'm
Beautiful.
Coming to you live from Maryland. Back again, man, with the brother Bobby Hemmitt. We had an awesome time yesterday at the Everlasting Life Health Complex dealing with the Blackmores and the Egyptian Sphinx. Today, you know, Cold Blue Production come today, man. You know, we just come here, man, just to bring information to the people. And again, you know, we've been blessed, man, with Bobby Hemmitt here. We even got Panic in the house today. Panic, what's up, Panic?
Hey, man.
Hey. We got Sister Lakshmi in the house. What's up, Laksh?
Namaste.
And we got Brother Ron, man, come all the way down from New York, you know, to be with the brothers and sisters. What's up, Ron?
What's up?
All right. Anyway, look, we back with you. But let me say this, a couple of things. I've said it time and time again. Recess is over. It's a new day. Like Bobby tried to break down yesterday, the election. The European is doing everything he can to shut us down because he knows that we are evolving to the next level. Actually, we already ascending to the fifth dimension now. And a lot of things you see is nothing but an illusion. Bobby also broke down the election about the things about the concentration camp. Yes, we know they got 800 of them out there, but that's for the lower level energies. And that's why it's time for the gods and goddesses to wake up, come together, and do what they got to do and start using the magic. We was also blessed with Brother Azariah come down, and we're grateful for that. But I'm going to bring Bobby on, and we're just going to talk. We're just going to talk about what's happening, what's going on, what we need to do, and let you be the judge of what you need to do. So the next face you will see will be my brother from the ATL in the MD, Bobby Hemmitt. Bobby Hemmitt, what's up, brother?
How's it going, man?
Man, good to see you again as usual, man. Look, that was an awesome lecture that took place yesterday at the Everlasting Life Health Complex.
Oh yeah, these are more of events.
Yeah.
Events in time.
Yeah, man. So it's good, you know, to have you back in the area, and this is something that we try and do here with Cold Blue. We want to try to bring information to the people as much as we can, because as you know, man, a lot of things are going on and different things are happening, and we just want people to be aware of what's going on. So Bobby, look, man, you was talking about something very interesting, man, about that Pope thing yesterday, and I think a lot of people wasn't really clear on it, but explain exactly why did the Pope come to the United States right at the time that he did?
Well, they have certain prophecies in the Vatican that the empires will turn to a black nation. And clearly with the whole Obama thing, which they really didn't pay that much attention to until they looked up and somehow mysteriously he started winning these primaries, until it got to the point where he fortified himself, which meant because of the delegate situation in the Democratic Party, he was able to fortify himself, because in the Democratic primaries, it's not based on the popular vote or how many states or what have you. It's based on how many delegates you collect. And so when they did the mathematics, there's no way that Hillary Clinton can catch up with him by June with the delegates, because he got all the delegates. So that meant that the super delegates are going to have to decide. And so they found out that in order for them to save the party, they're going to have to give it to Obama. So when they looked up and they had, and it was fortified, where he was a shoe-in as far as the Democratic primary, getting the nomination to run against McCain, it was serious enough that the Pope took notice, among other things, to come out. This is the first time this man has ever been to America in his life. And because the Pope has a black lineage as far as, and we showed the actual coat of arms, and on his coat of arms he has a Moor called Maurice, and he even mentioned on the internet that he is a Moor. So what happened is this. As you know, Europeans basically were nomadic, savage type existence. They didn't have any type of family structure, had any type of civilization. And the Moors, one of the things the Moors did for the 700 years is they gave them the coat of arms, they gave them family structure, and they basically set up a civilization around them. And so several families and all, they got their family structures based on certain Moors that gave them the coat of arms. In this particular case, by this particular Pope Benedict, his actual coat of arms comes from a direct lineage from the Moors. This particular Moor, Maurice, who was probably the person that was responsible for setting up the structure of his whole lineage, his family. And so that's what. So in that particular aspect, we know that part of the prophecy was if it was going to be turned to black nations, there would be a black president. Because we could take this stuff all the way back to Kemet. So you're talking about the return of a pharaoh, because the original one of the pharaoh's home in Egypt was called the White House, or the double White House. Mm-hmm. And so when it came back to this whole pharaonic thing, and if you notice, not only does his the Pope has a hat on it. If you turn it one sideways, it looks like a fish. Mm-hmm. But if you turn it front ways, it looks like the crown of Osiris. Okay. So there was a link in being interested in this lineage of what was going on with Barack Obama. I'm quite sure he was here for other types of businesses, like you said, setting up some UN soldiers.
Yeah. Well, we're here to come and pretty much give the UN their marching orders, because mm-hmm. actually the Pope run the planet other than the Black Pope. Right. They pretty much call the shots on what's going on, and since the United States is pretty much under the domain of the UN, mm-hmm. he had to come and give them their marching orders as well. Right. So yeah. But anyway, man, but you were saying something in particular, man, about those red shoes, man. Break that thing down.
Yeah. The red shoes that he came with, not only does it match the red crown on the coat of arms, the Moor, or the Maurice character on the coat of arms, the Moor, but also the red shoes represents absolute authority. But it also represents the blood of martyrs, of the bloodline of martyrs, and so St. Peter, as a matter of fact. But it also represented the bloodline of the Moorish lineage, passing the bloodline on to the west. Mm-hmm. Now, the story is that the Moors say that the new Camelot, which is the new lot of Kemet, will rise in the west. And so, therefore, with the advent of Barack Obama, which represents the Pharaoh, which also represents the new Camelot, mm-hmm. and we know it's the new Cam because it's been the new Cam. You look at the structure of Washington D.C. and all the pyramids, obelisks, temples, and whatever type things you have. You see, but it was a matter of, and this stuff has been in place, but it was a matter of the black man getting at that coming. Of age to fulfill the prophecies, you see what I'm saying, to actually match the structures that was put in place long ago. And so with this happening, we have Pope Benedict coming to give the blessing and to some way type to put his sanction on the bloodlines.
Speaking of bloodline, isn't Pope Benedict, isn't he German?
German was a Nazi youth and all that too. Mm-hmm. You see mm-hmm. what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Well, you got to look at this particular part too. The Germans, as well as the Germans, as well as most Europeans, had a real hand in and very interest in the whole Kamite mysteries or the Egyptian mysteries also. As a matter of fact, we could even look at the bird for Adolf Hitler, which was the same falcon type bird that held swastikas in each claw. You see what I'm saying? And then you look at the same falcon Horus bird, which is the same as here, that holds the ankhs in both claws. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So we know that in the Masonic iconography, as well as the whole occult realm and the occult realm, this is very significant. Very significant And so therefore, even that type of thing, because he was a Hitler Youth, you see, was a Hitler Youth and all. So it's just interesting here how, for them to even let a Hitler Youth even become the Pope, you got to realize that it has nothing to do with what the mundane world is dealing with. It has something to do with his occult affiliation. And by the Nazis being heavy into the occult, it still is one brotherhood behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, because you know something, man. Him and Bush, from the interviews I saw, both of them said they had something in each other. Could it be Bush's background in Germany, in his family?
Yeah, it has something, right. It has something to do. Remember now, his Prescott Bush, which was the father Bush, was a part of the eugenic society. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that thing go all the way back to Joseph Mengele, don't it? Yeah.
You see, and even before that, but so there is a link. There is a link, but it's an occult link of the secret society aspect. Now, because of Barack Obama, probably is a boule, because we always ask that particular question. Why is it that? How did he get to bring Asa Hilliard's body back to the United States? And Asa Hilliard is a tenured professor and was 74 years old. What I'm trying to say, it's not as if he didn't have money. He and his wife or what have you. So obviously that was some type of secret society link that it was his time on deck to take care of the brother.
Right.
You see, so that was one of the things. And the only thing I could think of that the affiliation would have to be the whole boule thing. Well, naturally that would have to be in the workings for the simple fact that you got to have all that kind of credentials to even run for president, to even consider being run for president. You say, well, anybody can run for president. Yeah, but anybody don't necessarily have the money.
Well, let me ask you a question, man, because because Obama is being supported by a lot of people, man. Even we'll say Brzezinski,
right,
Kissinger.
Yeah,
we know who all these people are.
Right.
So he getting big money from some.
Right. There's an Illuminati link, and it has to be an Illuminati link for. It's not based on your desire to run for president. Hell, Al Sharpton ran 4 years ago. It's based on the money, the finances. This is how he was able to win these particular states. Now, you got two things that's going on. You got the mundane political world, which means he has to line up with several people that was even considered our enemies to even get to that particular level. Then there's the spirit world saying, look, down here, we're just trying to get the figure and the image and fulfill the prophecy. You see what I'm saying? And that's just the only way you're going to fulfill that prophecy. Certain things have to be done through the channels of what is the way the government goes by electing certain people. And even that, but I do believe that they didn't necessarily think that he was going to go that far as the primaries. And when they looked up, even Pope Benedict and them had to come and concede and give the blessing. It's almost like paying homage to the bloodline. You see, to the bloodline. So it's not by mistake that which the red shoes also represent not only an actual absolute authority, but it also represents some form of the blood of martyrs of the bloodline. Then it also means that, but the crown on the Maurice's head of the coat of arms of this Pope Benedict is also red. So all this stuff comes together. You see, even with the secret meeting with Obama. Right.
Let me ask you a question. How you think, outside the United States, with the Obama thing, I'm not saying you really know it, but in your thought, how do you think the rest of the world is viewing this brother, or this black
entire
man,
planet,
or this black man, going as far as he is
the
around
entire
the world?
The entire planet are just ecstatic. They are going crazy in Europe, Asia, Africa. They're going all over the crazy, and this all over the world. They're going crazy over Obama. Now remember now, the most racist country is America.
Oh yeah, by far.
Around the world, people love the black man. You see what I'm saying? Around the world, they love the black man. They revere black people around the world. Even with all the propaganda and mind control in which the government has been trying to set up, to destroy our image, they still love the black man. As a matter of fact, I got a friend that sells pornos up in in Chicago, and he says that he makes hundreds of dollars a week off the Arabs coming in the black community to get the black pornos. They love the black woman. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
You see, they revere the black woman. And, you know, so my point here is now the Arabs say, as far as they're concerned, although the whole Christianity is apples and oranges, when you really peel back the layers, they even know that Christianity is nothing but an extension of Judaism. You see what I'm saying? Christianity and Islam.
Yeah.
So they say it's all one and the same, it's apples and oranges, and they say, but the key based on the lineage that they are actually dealing with is the name Barack Hussein Obama.
Right.
So as far as the Muslim world is saying, if they can even get anything like that in the White House, that is a victory for them. Not necessarily on a warfare level, but it's a victory for them based on world image.
Well, let me ask you this, man, and I'm asking for the fact that some people don't understand the game of politics. Now, you know, you got that one, you know, Tamahu, man, that cracker, what's his name, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Now, he got this show, it's called Operation Chaos. Because all he do all day long is stir up stuff.
Right.
And what he's been doing, he's been on the campaign to get all the Republicans to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
What do you think his objective is in doing that?
Well, the whole concept here is they know that they think that McCain has a better chance of winning against Hillary, for the simple fact that not necessarily based on that Hillary don't know what she's talking about. Clearly, both Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton is better than McCain, because anytime you got a man that admits that he knows nothing about the economy, you see what I'm saying? It's insane, especially after 8 years of this crazy Bush.
Right.
You don't want no kind of incompetence going up in there. But that's not the point. The point, the reason why they feel that McCain can beat Clinton is because the Clinton machine has become hated with the Clinton regime of the 1990s, and they were not able to throw that away. And to the point, the only people that loved the Clintons were black people.
Especially black women.
Yeah, but the key here is the spirit world came through and showed Bill Clinton, who was unscathed when it came to black people, he becomes the Hitler. You see, in these primaries and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so there's a spirit thing that's actually working, but they just think that they got a better chance based on the hatred that most people have for the Clintons.
Not only that, man, but you got to understand, too, the European. We live in a patriotic society.
Right.
And you know that white man ain't going for that white woman running stuff.
Right.
That's another thing. He ain't going for that woman running nothing.
That's a part of it too. You can factor in all of that.
Right. So so there's a lot of things going on with that. But I noticed, man, when the Pope was here, man, there's a lot of things going on. But then let's take a look at that article, that face. What do you think they do when they put something like this together?
Well,
on a magazine like that? The visions of what do you think they're trying to tell the people?
And this is about 4 magazines over the last 4 or 5, maybe 6 magazines, for U.S. News, Time, and it's about 6 magazines over the past 8 years that showed this face of Jesus. You see what I'm saying? And the interesting part about that is this, because me and the brother Panic had this particular discussion about people, even as they gain knowledge, like William Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And they gain all this knowledge and information, but somehow they just still can't get off of this Jesus. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
As being a historical figure. They can't leave that alone. You see what I'm saying? And that is because it's one thing. This is giving the white man all types of power. Why would you abandon something that you have fooled the whole world to say that he's been masquerading as God?
Mm-hmm.
So my point here is the last thing, even if they learn various information that there was no historical Jesus, they would still sweep that under the rug because they don't want to get off the power of what the historical Jesus has done by being a historical Jesus that has actually been white. So they would have, if this was a black man as an image, that was a image, and they found out that he was more of a composite figure and was more an attainment and a principle other than being a historical figure, they would expose it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason why they keep clinging to this, and they got real profound people who basically unravel these things and know the mysteries of these principles of the Christhood, which predates a historical even notion of having some historical person, they still will not get off that historical thing because historically, it's for the last 2,000 years, has been the image of a white man.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that outweighs the truth. You see what I'm saying? That outweighs the truth. This is so as a result, and it's been effective.
Right.
Now, and it's real effective on the continent right now, the continent of Africa.
Oh man, they got them. The Africans act almost like the way blacks did back in the 30s.
Exactly. They're going through what we did at the turn of the century. They're going through all that.
Yeah.
That has been an indoctrination program that was given to them
I love the Lord.
by the white man.
I love the Lord.
So this is what happened after years of colonization. And the funny thing about it is when they were colonized, they had very little religious experience. But we're talking about most of those particular countries have been decolonized since the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And yet, in the 1990s, they have become Jesus fanatics. So in so many words, you got to realize that is another division of MK Ultra.
MK Ultra, and also
Mind control.
And we've seen it for ourselves, man, that a lot of the churches, especially the newer churches they are building ELF towers right in the steeples.
All of that.
Right in the steeples, because it shuts them down, man.
And it's also the state-of-the-art churches that is in Africa.
Right.
And they even now is going to the point where as the regular traditional Catholic churches started losing members by the thousands. And they used to have the Christianity, the biggest group of Christianity in Africa was Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Catholicism versus Islam. And they're now losing members by the thousand. And they say, why are you losing these members? They say, because they like to go to churches and do the hooping and the hollering and the jumping all around, the stuff that we went through for years. You see what I'm saying? The roly-poly. And so as a result, the quiet Catholic Church started losing out. So what they said, they gotten sanctioned by the Pope and all them, do what you got to do to get their members back. So now they got the guitars and the drum sets and the flipping and the dancing and all this kind of thing here.
Right.
So it's a big phenomenon in Africa. You see what I'm saying? And remember now, there was a sister named Aviva she was living in Africa at the time in the late 90s. And she was there when Bill Clinton first came. Now, it's ironic, the Bush done went twice to even outdo Bill Clinton. Because he went back in 2006 and he went again about a month ago. You see what I'm saying? So what happened was, and I tell the story how, she got up one day and all of them had on their little Sunday go to meeting clothes on like a Tuesday. And it was like, where you going? They said, we're going to see the Christ. We're going to see Jesus. We're going to see God. We're going to see the Christ. And so she said, oh, well, maybe these Africans done tapped into something. So she got dressed too and went to the rally, and it was Bill Clinton. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about
an image.
Mind control.
Mm-hmm. An imagery.
That the imagery here is any white man that is actually in the image of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So this thing actually does work. And I remember one guy was riding home. He was talking about all of these leaders and the oil that they got in Nigeria. And it's the Nigerian leaders because the white man is fair. And if they just got on board with him, we could have all this, you see. So I'm like, man, don't you know that you all are really still colonized? They have a clause in the Nigerian thing that they would always be a part of England. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting. So yeah, it's going to that particular level.
Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, we know we got the brother out here, Ray Higgins, man. He's trying to break our people out of some of them spells on that lower level. But what do you think it's going to take, man, to snap our people out of this nonsense, man?
Well, it's going to have to take. It's going to be a divine intervention. Because as far as the masses is gone, it's going to be a divine intervention. But the first glimpse of the divine intervention is us, the enlightened ones. How many thousand it is? If it's 1,000, if it's couple of hundred if it's whatever. You say you talk about spread out over the United States and the Caribbean and stuff. Well, maybe you just talk about a couple of thousand. Now, when you talk about a couple of thousand people as conscious, opposed to millions, that's a small, minute number.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
When you're saying the average person breathing is dead. So it's going to take a divine intervention, but the divine intervention has already happened because we have produced a conscious element that wasn't here 30 years ago. And I'm not talking about black awareness in the particular aspect of how we had traditional consciousness. I'm talking about people that have returned back to everything from the level of historical knowledge all the way up to the godship.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And the godhood. We're really dealing with some real serious stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that's dealing with. So my point here is, because like I tell people, we were all conscious generally as a people after the 60s. All you got to do is go and get the movie Watt Stacks and watch the general attitude of everybody that was living in Watts in the 10-year anniversary of the Watts riots, and when they did the Watt Stacks where they had the big concert commemorating the 10-year anniversary, and they went in the neighborhood and the average basic person was conscious. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But after 10 or 15, 20 years of COINTELPRO, it's somehow the people became asleep.
Right. Well, you know, our folks definitely sleeping, man, because I mean, even, you know, in my everyday travels, man, I look at the condition of black people, man. I mean, we've gotten worse, man. I mean, you know, I mean, it seems like the masses of the people is getting worse, you know.
Well, it's prophesied. Now, you got to look at this also. That can also be a shield, a decoy, a protection blanket.
Yeah, for the enlightened ones.
For the enlightened ones.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example. They said in Africa, when Islam took the top part of Africa, from Egypt, Libya, and they just went across, and those particular people that didn't bear witness to Allah died. They cut your head off, what have you. The Dogon knew that they had to have the Dogon who had come there since the days of Timbuktu was an extension of the Egyptians. They knew that they had to preserve what little knowledge they did have. So what they did is they went very savage. They went crazy. Mm-hmm. When they came up and stuff, they looked like they didn't have, there was nothing to be desired. Therefore, the arrogant Arab said, these people don't deserve Islam. They're too savage. And this was a direct strategy of the Dogon to preserve what knowledge they have. Well, the same thing is happening out here with our people. Because you look at our people, even black people look at our people, and we just see savagery.
Mm-hmm. Utter disgust.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But
that is a form of the divinity. You see what I'm saying? That is the form of the divinity. You see, because the simple fact here is, if the European or the ruling class knew that there was any element of us that even resemble closely of rising up as what has been prophesied in these particular texts, mm-hmm. you see, he would really put forth a machine to covertly kill us off. Although he's doing it anyway, he would really go after certain people, certain people of what I would call the knowledge elite. But what happened was here is our people act so much like a fool. And even when he come in contact with our leaders, the leaders, in response to the European, it is always based on the European's agenda. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they rarely get a person to stand before them and give the black agenda or a non-Eurocentric agenda. So therefore what it does is it assures the European, or it assures the ruling class. I don't even want to call them ruling class. I want to say, yeah, well, ruling class, because they rule a certain group of people. I would much rather call them ruling class, because that's than powers that be. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't want to invoke nothing, you see, as far as even giving them the power. But the point here is the ruling class, it assures them that we really don't have nothing to worry about when it comes to those Negroes, because everybody we encounter, you see, is subpar. And that's a way of divine protection. You see, that's the way of divine protection. It's almost as if to say, if they had what would be the alternatives? if we started overtly fulfilling the prophecy. So let's say, so you don't take nothing precious and put it in a beautiful gold chained, let's say if you precious wine, and put it in a beautiful gold bottle. So the thief would come and steal the gold bottle. You would always put it in an old raggedy, chipped up, beat up bottle. You see what I'm saying? A beat up bottle. So that's what's going on as far as what's going on. A lot of this type of stuff here is the divine planning. And no matter how hideous it might look, it's a plan, you see, it's so that we can go unscathed as the people that's doing the actual work. So in so many words, they knew, because in the 1990s they were very afraid of the millennium. So they did pay attention to black conscious groups. So, and as a result, they killed Khaled, they locked up H. Rap Brown, they locked up Dr. York. You see what I'm saying? You see, they took note that John Henry Clark passed 10 years ago, as well as Kwame Ture passed, because this is 2008. They both passed in 88. They took note that they might have bumped off Amos Williams more than likely they did in 1995. But nevertheless, going to the millennium, they were very concerned about a black conscious element. You see, as a matter of fact, Ray Hagan has produced, because he's coming in and doing post 9/11 information where Steve Coakley left off.
Right.
So he's doing post 9/11 information, and the information he's dealing with is based on all these Patriot Acts and these particular laws that's been passed. And a lot of these laws that's been passed, yes, when it all came down, they were very concerned about several black conscious groups. You see, but in some kind of way, those particular groups suffered. And they suffered to the particular point where, as you know, black bookstores closed down, UAM closed down, and a lot of these particular groups suffered and all. And that, in so many words, that was the spirit world saying, hey, you don't have nothing to worry about. And again, the ones who are doing the real work can have a free ticket. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to be harassed by people that's thinking, you know, hey, these people are going to eventually replace us. So the transition to the black nations is very smooth. You see what I'm saying? Very smooth.
Well, that's, that's why I'm just, Bob, just trying to get it out there, man, because again, just from my personal experience, it's very few amounts of people that really know what's going on. For instance, when I go to the West Coast, it's like don't nobody know nothing about nothing. It's almost like the conscious community is mainly on the East Coast.
Yeah, it is. In the West Coast, they got small pockets scattered about.
But you go to the West Coast, and it was like, I mean, them people, they don't know nothing about nothing. I mean, because first of all, if you go to California, Nevada, and them places, they are no real black communities. Blacks are out there, but everything is built around the Spanish people and white folks. Black folks just so happen to be there, and they're not getting this information out there, man. And it's almost like, man, when you go out there and you dialogue with these people, it's almost like you talking to somebody in a whole other dimension. Because if it don't come on the television or on the newspaper, they don't know nothing about it. Period, man. Period whatsoever. Hey, man, I see you down there with a big old jug of water. What's that water thing you got down there, man?
Oh, yeah. This is
what is that, man?
This is something that's very important that you helped me out with. This is the nursery water, purified water with added fluoride. Now, I already got fluoride in the water, but fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. And so they decided that with most people, and even most dead people now don't really drink sink water or faucet water. Most people, especially the last 15 years, have really gotten out of that. So they decided that with this particular, in order to really make this thing effective, although it's also in the regular drinking water and probably can enter certain amounts based on your shower and stuff. But basically, most adults, you know, they basically they still use fluoride toothpaste. So that's how they can get most adults. Now, when it comes to babies, they decided, well, if certain people have a certain amount of certain socialized people that just don't deal with fluoride in their diet or in the water or whatever have you, we'll get them on the other end. That way we can ensure that. And basically what they do is they just basically focus on putting it in the doggone baby's water.
Well, see, that's the key, man, because, I mean, you know, especially this young generation, because, we got the indigo children, because, see, even all your holy books talk about children will be wiser but weaker. But what they try to do is make sure that they don't become wise, because by putting that fluoride in the water, they cutting them off, man, right coming out the gate.
Yeah, because wise has a lot to do with the pineal activity.
Right.
And it's interesting because I was talking to an African guy that was actually there last night in the lecture. And he said that he never heard of a toothpaste that didn't have fluoride in it on the whole African continent. So now we are actually seeing that it's heavy on the African continent. Now it's ironic. It could be. He said he's never even heard of any toothpaste. He thought the toothpaste and fluoride went together.
Well, you know, most people do.
And most people do.
Most people do. They think it because it helps with cavities and all that old mess.
All that stuff. So what happened was he never heard of a toothpaste without fluoride. He said all toothpaste in Africa is about fluoride. I said, but it's interesting here because here it is. Europe is closer to Africa than America.
But they don't have it.
They don't have it. No place in Europe.
No place.
You see. No place
at all.
In Europe.
It's not allowed in the country.
Exactly.
It's not allowed there.
On the continent.
You know.
You want to call it a continent.
Yeah.
Right. So that means to tell you and all, and it's the number one thing amongst indigenous people. When Brother Panic was saying that that it's real, the highest dosage is that in the Mexican population or Hispanic, because remember they in another country you can't regulate what kind of water.
Right.
But most products come from the European sector. As far as products, toothpaste, or whatever type thing. And as a result, it's got a higher doses in it than the Americans and stuff. They probably figure they put part in America, they put part in the water and part in the toothpaste, and that'll be sufficient. So in Mexico, probably they have to put what is equivalent to water and the toothpaste over here. They have to put that much and more in the toothpaste in Mexico. So as a result, they were saying when they came over and would drink water with fluoride in it, along with the highest doses that they would have coming from Mexico, they end up dying.
Yeah, because I noticed, man. They really stepped up their game with that fluoride, MSG, any of those kind of things that shut you down. They got these things working. Now I'm gonna take a little shift, man, for a minute, because I just want to get your take on it. I was listening to XM radio just the other day. And up in Chicago, according to the story, they was pulling this man over for not wearing a seatbelt, but the guy kept driving and ran off in the house. Guess he was near home. Next thing they know, they just had a whole tactical unit went in the house and beat everybody up, the mama, and locked the whole family down. But I'm saying, all over the country, there's a lot of extreme police brutality going on, especially in New York, Kentucky, and even down the way you at, because down there in Atlanta ain't no joke.
Yeah, they shot a 90-year-old woman.
You know, so people get so what I'm asking, so my question is this: with all this going on, with all this police brutality, and 90%, especially in these big cities, 90% of these police chiefs are black. You see what I'm saying? A lot of these police chiefs are black. The mayors are black. Police chiefs are black. But there's always black folks getting shot down, beat down. I'm not talking about New York. We know Bloomberg got New York. But my thing is this. Do you think it's an attempt to try to get black folks to raise up?
No, I think it's an attempt to instill that fear. You see, they ain't trying to get us to raise up. You see what I'm saying? Because especially now, things are getting real close. And they don't know what that can trigger. If anything, they're still trying to instill the fear. It's the same tactic that they did on the plantation. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that if it's anything, it's like that. They don't really want us to rise up. You see what I'm saying? They would like the status quo as it is. But remember, the melanin is based on fear.
Right, but the reason I'm asking that, because we are the only people that they're doing this to. You never hear or see black police beating down white people and shooting black. All the black police around the country, you never see them shooting white folks, ever. You never shooting them, never see them beating them down, ever.
Well, remember what Azariah said yesterday, Azazel. When they put you on the police force and they've already checked your family's history in whether you are capable of rebelling. So in so many words, the police that stand by and have them beaten down or either participate in beating down the black people, they already have a profile of their temperament, you see what I'm saying, and also based on their family history. So they go through serious evaluations and stuff so that they can find the right candidate with a black self-hatred. It's no different than the Larry Elder syndrome. This man, you know Larry Elder?
He's terrible, man.
This man viciously hates black people. Well, a black man that hates black people with a passion. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's so bad until when he talks with anger against the black people.
Yeah.
It can be just a basic conversation. He's furious with black people.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So this is how deranged this sick person is.
Yeah, Ward Conley and all of them alike.
Right.
All
of
them
guys. You see, so it's the same thing with the profile of the police force. You see what I'm saying? This is a science.
Well, let me ask you a question, man. Well, based on the frequency of how these things, because it's getting worse going on. What, in your opinion, what can black people do to combat that? Now, I got some ideas on how we can deal with it.
I think that pretty much the conscious community is pretty much well on the way of handling things. Here again, as far as the masses, it's too vast and too much ignorance. They're too much of part of the fabric of the general society that controls them. It's no different what they said in the Matrix. It's so severe until you're supposed to look at them as the enemy. You see what I'm saying? As the enemy. You see, because you're talking about a people that don't even have a brain, don't have a mind. You see, they are actually bred. And one brother in South Carolina said, you got to understand that we have not really studied breeding process. When someone breeds you, it's no different than when you breed a thoroughbred animal. They cannot break the imperial breeding. You see what I'm saying? And it's imperial breeding. And the imperial breeding can just be breed you for ignorance. Let me give you an example. You could go and look at Black Stars, which is the network, a stars network, and they got the black stars. And you can look at the caliber of movies, if there are movies done about black people. And when they come out, they are not that much far from Good Times. They might be a little more sophisticated, but they're not far from Good Times, and That's My Mama, or what have you, which was in the actual 70s. And I'll have to be. I think Good Times was a little more superior than that because they did deal with issues. You see what I'm saying? They did deal with issues, but I'm trying to say these movies are on such a low level, you see what I'm saying, that there is not even any creative thought for a person to even think alternatively.
Well, speaking of that, why do you think they give somebody like Flavor show?
Well, I'm just saying it's all a part of the same thing. You project what you want, the mindset of these particular dead drones
walking around,
brain dead walking around.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So my point here is you got too many things coming at you to be idealistic about what's going to happen out there, because but that's not important. First of all, let's deal with this. Let's deal with this thing to try to understand one thing. You can look at a population of the European Jews. I don't want to say Jews because we know that they're not the definitive people of the ancient world. We're talking about a modern creation. You see what I'm saying? That is only 500 or 600, 700 years old.
That's nothing.
Right. Well, let's just look at them. And let's look at the ones in America. We don't even have to even look at Israel. We don't even have to even look at Europe. Let's just look at America. And if you look at the Jews in America, they will probably be a severe minority based on how many black people we have. But there's one thing that is to understand about ruling things. And I'll give you 2 economic reasons. Wait. Ruling or becoming to the top of civilization does not necessarily denote that it has to be record numbers. You can have a people that's few that can live and rule on a quality of life that's so advanced that it rules the planet. We see that in the European in general, and we can see that in smaller pockets of communities. You see what I'm saying? In general, of people that's got their shit together. You see what I'm saying? They don't have to have major numbers. Mm-hmm. Major numbers. What is the law that say that major numbers has to be the pinnacle of whether we say we doing good or not? So in so many words, black people are doing good if you discount the masses of useless eaters out here.
Right.
And that's the problem what we have done. We have been bought into this notion that it's all based on how many numbers we have, and we don't realize the science is it's not based on how many numbers you have, because we can even look at the European in the way he does. He's outnumbered on the planet 11-1.
Well, something that, that Sister Lakshmi always say, a lot of times you say our people, and she say them niggas ain't your people.
They ain't your people. Like
you got to quit claiming all these people.
You got to quit claiming.
Just because they dark skin, brown skin, you got to quit claiming all these.
Right. See, this is the thing about it. This is the thing about it. As far as you have a demographic of a certain amount of people, and then you will just have people just fill up the landscape, and they might not fit into the demographic of the people who are actually in a better condition than what we think they are. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why we keep thinking that we are not at that particular level, because we keep adding the fucking dead ones, you see what I'm saying, who are just basically a part of a landscape. They're just mindless bodies.
You see the
halos on them.
You see, it's like mindless bodies. Let me give you another example. In a case study on black people, on the upper mobile level, it does better. We found this out within the past 100 years. At the turn of the century, they used to have these big families. And part of the big families they used to have, my great-grandmama had 16 children. And she was the exception. She sent them all to college. They was like first generation. We don't know how that happened, but that was some freak thing. But they used to have these big families. And as people started going more and more to a higher economic standard, to my black people, and education standard, the families started getting smaller. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with white folks. Same thing with white folks. The more economically enhanced they are, economically efficient, the smaller the unit of family goes down to. How many doggone children do you see George Bush and the George Bush right now ruling? And he was a homemonger, loved black women. He still ain't got nothing but what, 2 daughters? Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? So my point here is we're counting numbers that does not necessarily mean success.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the way the spirit world probably put it there. They gave you an excess amount of people that could be mowed down and plowed through or go through, not only that, they go through the hardships in life based on economic starvation or what have you. You see what I'm saying? Because the more you have of them, the less you have to compromise of people in a greater number that's going to do some good, that's going to be valid. And I don't. So in one way, you can say you could be trained and look at that as elite. But then again, you could look at that as reality. You see what I'm saying? Case in point, like you said, we are successful. When you're saying that every major CEO in the country now is a black man.
Yeah, this major company, man, American Express, Merrill Lynch, you go on, man.
On and on and on. But now, if you want to keep a people on the downtrodden, the illusion of the downtrodden, you understand what I'm saying? You never report these things. You see, we fill every major position in this country. And like they say, all you got to do and look and see that this poverty thing and a lot of these things are mythology that we bought into. Go down to Harlem, not on a Saturday. Go to Harlem on a Monday morning around 12 o'clock, and you won't see nothing but thousands of black people walking around shopping on Monday. And I'm like, who can afford this? You know what I'm saying? I'm blown away. So my point here is a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is illusion. It's the nightly news reporting the poverty, reporting the shootings and the killings and all that type of thing. And it could just be normal in just a regular modern society. It's like Dick Gregory said, there's no such thing as black on black crime.
Well, yeah, because
he said, what about white on white crime? He said, you kill where you live.
Right.
So if you get a couple of white rednecks that kill each other, look, I'm going to give you an example. I live in Georgia. And we have Atlanta now is the inner city where all the black people are. And they used to have killings, but they had the Red Dog people came in and wiped out and broke the dope infrastructure so they could get the Olympics. And they never could, the dope infrastructure never could recover. So therefore the crime is not as, the crack and all that kind of stuff is not as bad in Atlanta because they broke it for the Olympics and it was never able to recover. Mm-hmm. But outside of the outskirts, all you hear is rednecks killing each other. You see what I'm saying? Killing each other, raping each other, white girls missing. Is that called white on white crime? Yes. You kill. So my point here is a lot of these things are a series of things where they're trying to create a mindset for people to self-destruct. And a lot of this stuff might not be the way it is. Now, when you talk about, then again, when you talk about places like Philadelphia where they're killing each other, these are induced killings. Mm-hmm. So what you're dealing with here is nothing but a government program to say, look, we are actually trying to see when we want to take a city like New Orleans. Yes, you can do a Katrina, but that's severe and it happened. But if you want to take a city where you don't necessarily have weather like that, it's very unlikely you're going to have the type of hurricanes and stuff that's going to hit Philadelphia if they want to take back the city. So therefore they give you the same aspect with induced killings, with MK Ultra, mm-hmm. mind control, and different things like that. Because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Philadelphia, somewhere in the last 4 years, all of a sudden, something clicked, and they just started killing each other in masses. You see what I'm saying? Whereas crime is down in New York City. They got more black people in New York City. You see what I'm saying? And you just don't hear black people. You got occasional robbery and stuff that goes in a big city, but you just don't have these mass senseless murders. Whenever it comes like that and it just outbreak like that, that's something that's induced. So here again, we still talking about something. We're talking about forms of mind control, and it's not necessarily as bad as what we think it is. You see what I'm saying? And here go the other factor is, like I said again, we got to have some people that look a certain way so it can be a decoy so we can get our stuff together, because the spirit is interceding. You see what I'm saying? It is interceding. Just like Barack Obama. Well, there's probably things he had to do to be pro-Israel, to be several things like that just to even get in there, because it was the Israel that got all the money for him. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And there is the whole concept of his mother being Jewish. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So all these things, but the spirit world said, no, these are things that we put together but it's still fulfilling the prophecy. Number one, that black woman is going to be in the White House, and her family comes from South Carolina, and the Geisha and the Gullah, which is Congo, Africa. You see what I'm saying? And he comes from East Africa. You see what I'm saying? So my point here, which is Maasai and all them, which is also the Egyptian Camite link. So all of this stuff goes, if you look at a bigger picture of it. It's a bigger picture of it. It's not as much as tragic as it is that we have to just figure out where we actually stand. And you got to, where we actually stand. And you know, the funny part about it, they made sure that this spirit world did not discriminate based on economics. And what I mean by that here, the people that are conscious come from all walk of life. Some are poor. Some are well-to-do. You see what I'm saying? Some barely hanging on. So they make sure that this consciousness lets you know, because we don't want this elite thing to happen and stuff where you don't identify with a group of people. You see what I'm saying? They made sure that this thing came together with all levels of black people and all, and it's you know, and it cuts across the social lines of the black community. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And that's what it was. So it's not to say, you know, the only people conscious is economically viable people. No, we got people that's living one paycheck away from poverty. We got some people in the homeless shelters. Every now and then somebody will show up from the homeless shelter to come to the conscious meeting. You see what I'm saying? So we see these particular things that actually happen. These things that actually happen to let you know that this is not an elite structure, as it is something that is spiritual, is happening with all walks of life. It's not tailor-made by some man-made justice to say, well, we tailored an economic structure or a class system, and as a result, the consciousness came out of that. No, they make sure it's coming to all walks of life. You see what I'm saying? All different behaviors.
And one thing about that also, Bobby, is that you can have 10,000 ignorant people, but they would not have the consciousness of one awakened being.
That's right. That's right.
You see what I mean?
That is right.
So,
that is right. So it's no. So as far as, like I said yesterday, when the spirit world looks down, they don't look at bodies. They look at light.
Right.
So they see a whole bunch of darkness, and they see these little specks of light spread out, and that's the only people that they are interested in, and they gravitate towards even giving them more enlightenment or even protection, and they protect them through the darkness, and the darkness might be the ones that's not awakened.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So they don't look at things. They look at this thing based on light. And like I said, now this thing is going, even in the black community, it's not going based on economics. It's not going based on not based on skin color. It's based on, when I say, I'm talking about within the black community, whether it's light skin or dark skin or whatever, whether it's this family over this family. It's now based on enlightened versus darkness. That's the line it's split down with.
Right.
The conscious and the unconscious. Because we can't even say the white man, because our lives don't even interface with white people that much. This is a factor. Our lives every day interface with two people. Some people that you can have some type of round table with to give you some type of ease because you're all on the same frequency of consciousness, and the ignorant.
Right.
And mostly around us is more ignorant than it is a particular person that's going to give you some type of fortitude of sense, or some type of ease when it comes to certain consciousness. And what I mean by that is, you might meet a conscious brother outside of the ones you already know that you put in your circle. You might meet a conscious person every 2 weeks, every 2 months, every 3 months, outside of the ones you know. You just so happen to look up one day and somebody got some sense. Because the majority of the people you might see just as dumb and, like they said, deaf, dumb, and blind.
Yeah, well, you do. You do have a great segment of the people who they just hollow, man. They just
right. And see, what happened was this about that though. But see, this is what I had, which is important for the mindset, because I had to even do that by even being a person that was speaking before a certain community that was in crisis. What I had to do is that I had to stop burning up energy with worrying about something that it's not even animated, it's not even living. So I'm putting some people in the whole concept of my consciousness that doesn't even exist. And that's what C. Freeman L. used to say, why fuck around with stuff that you can't do nothing about? Only deal with that what you can do something about. And so what I had to do was, and that's the fact that was a burden on me for the simple fact I was speaking before a black community. So it was even harder than that. So I was actually putting people, I'm giving all my energy and stuff, even in thought, to a people that's not even here. There ain't nothing, they're in the graves. And so I don't burn up the energy now, even worrying about them on that particular level anymore and stuff, because that's what it does. It drains you for people that's zombies. It's like a, it's,
you know,
it's like
off camera we're talking a little bit, but I noticed, man, what do you think it is, man? You know, all around the country, man, when it comes to these young people, man, and that's how I want to take the time too, you know, we are planning a hip-hop deprogramming summit, and we're looking to do that, man, towards the end of the summer with the New York All-Stars. So we're putting that out there, a hip-hop programming, deprogramming summit, Cold Blue Productions. So stay tuned, everybody. But getting back to what I was talking about, Bobby, I noticed something. It's like a trend, and it got to be some type of forced program, because no matter, I go all over the country, and all the young people are the same. All of them wearing the white T-shirts.
Yeah.
All of them got their pants down in their hand pockets. There's a certain age group. All of them are driving those cars, look like they might be undercover police cars. Or now they shifting over to the Cadillacs now. Okay? They just shipped over to the Cadillacs. And these brothers kind of leaning back. Now a lot of them kind of leaning back in the seat. And the women doing the driving. These niggas don't even get up and pump the gas and do nothing. So what is this going on, man? I mean, you know, brother said something about Shiva, but what's going on with that, man?
Because
in the history of civilization, I've never seen young people so messed up in my life as I have now, man.
Well, it's all a part of the pathological life of the dead. You know, the pathological life of the dead is, you know, even in change, each season you're going to get just a new form of pathology. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise it would burn out. They would go to something constructive. You got to keep the pathology new and interesting. You see what I'm saying? So it's the white tee that came with a doggone shirt, song. I do everything in my white t-shirt, my white tee. And it was a song that happened about 3 years ago that ended up being the standard. You see what I'm saying? Right. So even that, you see what I'm saying? And it'll always be something new. You know, it'll always be something new. God knows what they'll have next year, year after next.
No, because I'm just saying though, man, there's a certain pathology that's taking place. I mean, like now, I've never seen so many young girls and lesbians. I mean, they're talking about the older women. They got a group of young women. Now where are they getting that behavior from? The little younger.
A lot of that, we got to realize, a lot of that is just basically, induced based on, and I know it started. This thing started. It starts in high school. See, socially, the males still have to be in the closet, because you can say one thing about rap music. Rap music was started based on being hard. So it, you know what I'm saying? And although it has its elements of homosexuality, even amongst the rappers, it's still a closed closet thing, because the style of rap music doesn't suggest, you see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That you kiss a nigga on the camera or what have you. You see, it's a private thing. The woman has got something to do with the sociology of probably being rejected by certain males, and them coming together as a support group that later on became a actual style that would actually be rampant now. And it starts in high school, and they got to realize a lot of these things about the woman it's not necessarily a lesbian and homosexuality than it is some person getting caught up in a certain fad or a certain experimentation or something that's going on that is basically something that is induced. And what I mean by that here is they got a lot of women that sexually the first encounters they had just unfortunately had to be a female. And they might not even be lesbian in the sense that they have this liking for women. They're just socialized on an emotional level, you see, to participate in some type of social behavior that's become popular. And that's what's happening now with a lot of high school girls. And because they're so vulnerable, because the first level of sexual activity at a certain age and stuff, they can't discern the difference between the male and the female because the female got there first. Now, it might, like I said, it might be a lesbian up in there that is the catalyst, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot of these women that's partaking into these activities are actually lesbians. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Based on nature or based on, you see what I'm saying, what is the basic thing why a person would say they was lesbian outside of an influence. You see what I'm saying? Outside of an influence. And so this is something, this is something that's been going on, and it's a thing, and let me tell you what I mean by that is I know a nigga named Eenie Beanie. He's a little crazy nigga and that I went to school with. And this lesbian girl, a butch type figure, came to the school and she preyed on women that were psychologically vulnerable at a certain time. You see what I'm saying? And it's no different than the flim-flam that a lot of the Africans do with women with low self-esteem to get them to come and do the flim-flam and marry them and bring the whole family over on them. Well, it's the same thing as how the lesbian. This is a form of a type of structure that is built up over the years that the lesbians have learned how to seduce these particular women. Mm-hmm. And they can get caught up in this particular lifestyle for a very short cycle. Some of those people later, especially when it comes to the women, some of them later on get married and never even experience those things again. Now it's different with the male because it's not out of the closet. It's very hard in a male-dominated society, you see what I'm saying, outside of prison, and you a free man, it's very hard for you to choose to go through the homosexual lifestyle based on some other person bending your will and you're vulnerable, because it's a whole nother social mechanism when it comes to the male. A lot of times and stuff like the shame thing. The shame thing. So in so many things, a lot of times they really have a hankering want to be with that other male. Mm-hmm.
Can you say, Bobby, that in both the male and the female that we repeat certain patterns? The female wants to be mothered, right?
Exactly.
If the mother went to work and the child suffered from the deprivation of missing that mother, and nobody's there to nurture her.
Right.
The same thing that happens to the male. Now, there are a lot of males in our community. We already know that the father is not there.
Well, it's interesting you would say that, because now Francis Cress Welsing had that theory 20 years ago, that based on a certain fear of society, some males might choose to live a homosexual life because it's more of a security factor of being gay in a collaboration with another man, because they're too afraid to step out. And like, she did give that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And like I say, there is no one thing that will say why a person socially does things, but it's a major composite of factors, but you got to rule in all of those.
Right.
But I do know this in my particular, in my aspect, as far as, in my aspect, I can only give my aspect as far as what I came came across when it comes to females. I know a lot of females that have experienced some experimentation with another woman that is not lesbian. You see what I'm saying? It was based on circumstances. You see what I'm saying? It was based on circumstances, and it's based on, and they're not lesbian. Never considered themselves lesbians. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I know a lot of women like that. Whereas it's become so common that it's accepted. Well, you can say it's accepted. You look at the porno industry. It ain't nothing for us to see two women getting it on. We just think it's as normal as anything. So if a society accepts it, you see what I'm saying? Then on the other hand, this can also trickle down. So I do know that that's what it is. That's what it is. I know a lot of women. It's more. I gotta make them get the man off the hook. Well, they say also the down low person. That's the way they feel a lot of times. Some of these males, they say no. This is a sexual act that can be put in a box, but I'm not a homosexual. I'm not a faggot. It's like something that you can do where you go and do some Greco-Roman wrestling, or you go in a boxing match, and they can put it and they can isolate it from who they think they are. You see what I'm saying? I'm only giving you what to justify it and stuff like that. Now, when they even study the down low thing, they don't consider themselves gay. And right. even if the thing they say, no, that was just something that was like a boxing match or like a football game that I participated in.
Right.
I eat Twinkies on the weekend. I'm on the diet.
Right.
Yeah.
And like they say,
like
like the gay guy say, they said, he said, he had a mantra, I will eat no more meat. I will eat no more meat. And then they saw him and he had a whole bunch of sailors on each arm the next day after he had this mantra given to him by this doctor. And he said, no, doctor, this ain't no meat. This is seafood. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying, boy, like I said again, in this world, I don't even want to even say dead world, because I'm trying to say conscious people are caught up in a world that is, and it's prophesied in the Hermetic text. We talk about it's a world that is so abnormal. Well, you got to realize now, we have had a person, if they say that the man only uses 2% of his brain, or what, 10%? What is it? 2% of his brain. And we understand the only reason why we accept that now, because the people who are running the society, the mutant, the aberrant man only uses 2% of his brain. But if he sets a society that only uses 2% of the brain, and we got indigenous people who used to use most of their brain, go through slavery, and now they're caught up and dependent on that society, then we only use 2% of the brain. So therefore anything goes in a society on that particular low level. And there's a movie you need to see with what's the guy named Brooks? His name is something Brooks. And Meryl Streep is called Defending Your Life. And it's about after he dies and he's in this way station between going back to Earth to repeat it or going on to a higher level. And going on to a higher level that defending the life. And I can't think his name right now. I know his last, it's not Mel Brooks, but it's another Brooks.
Right.
But anyway, when he goes, they say, the majority of people on earth, they only use 2% of the brain, and the difference is between the other spirits that continue to go on, they use a great portion of their particular brain. So they were actually talking about what black people used to do. And they say, in the basic, and they say, well, what is the most devastating thing on earth which would make you fail to have to go back and repeat it? They say, you have these fears. And everything down here is based on these fears, and you got to get rid of these particular fears. And that's what the movie was about. It was an excellent movie called Defending Your Life.
Well, slavery is a fear-based industry.
Fear-based industry.
And so is the
and
economy.
Also racism.
And the car industry.
And also racism is a form. Why people become racist is because of a fear. It's the xenophobia. Fear of something that is unlike you. You see what I'm saying? So all that is a whole fear thing down here. You see. So you got to even add homosexuality in on that type of thing. Psychologically, it can be based on security. You see what I'm saying? Based on security. Now I don't know, but then again, I'm not a homosexual, so I don't know if it can be that insecure of not have that long of security that make me want to hanker for some set of balls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you know, I wouldn't know because I didn't fall into that particular category. But I can understand that this thing here is we're talking about it. If you're talking about a society where they only use 2% of the brain, then that means you're talking about a society run by 3-year-olds. No, I got no 3-year-olds. That's wrong. 3-year-olds and 2-year-olds and one. They use more part of their brain because of the simple fact you can tell how creative they are even in perceiving things on a fantasy level.
That's true.
Let's say 9-year-olds, when they started going down to the slope, going down a spiral downward. So basically, children.
Can you tell me something very important for me? That is, what was your father's name?
My father's name was Bobby Hemmitt. Ollie, O-L-L-I-E. And my oldest brother was a year. I got a brother a year older than me, and a brother a year younger than me. The oldest brother is also called Bobby Hemmitt Jr. And my father's father was called Bobby Hemmitt. So there's 3 levels of Bobby Hemmitt.
What kind of men were they?
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. My father was very artistic. I think I got a lot of his characteristics. Very artistic. Probably, according to my mother, had some pathologies like most people do. You know what I'm saying? But he had a little more open-minded than the average black person because he wasn't born in 2 sectors, way out west in California or way in the east or whatever. He was born in Oklahoma and stuff like that. So as a result, he had a wider perspective and stuff that he wasn't put in certain categories where you would have certain people in the country that would fit certain modes.
What part of Oklahoma?
I'm not sure. Probably in what's the capital city?
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City or something like that. Yeah, Oklahoma City. And as a matter of fact, I do know that there's a link between the whole Hemmitt thing, which is an Egyptian name. You see, which is an Egyptian name.
Because my people are from Oklahoma.
Yeah, and it's you know, and there's a whole lot of unsaid stuff about that particular territory that needs to be researched.
Hey, Bobby, let me ask you a question, man. It's been said, man, about almost 60% of the brothers up in New York are out of work. And I won't panic, man. Even Brother Ron to kind of tell me what is it? Because I think this needs to be a model for men all over the country. I know this, man. I don't care how bad they get up in New York, the brothers still survive.
Yeah.
I don't care what they take from the brothers.
It could be used as a case study.
Yeah, it's a case study because New York. There's a known fact that New York, from the metropolitan cities, New York has one of the highest unemployment rates of black men in the country. But yet still, the brothers survive.
Yeah.
Hey, Patty, give me some meat on that, man.
That was talked about yesterday by Bobby. When the melanin's under pressure, shit starts to happen.
Right.
So if they put us under that pressure, it's going to happen. So it's been happening. It's always been happening. Same old thing.
And I think they have a history of survival based on a whole lot of people living together. You can take the Great Depression, but then again, you can take our depression, never ended after the so-called Great Depression. Then you got to talk about people that had a whole government to try to deal with all kinds of warfare with drugs and every other type of thing put on these particular people. So in so many words, I think they developed a culture of survival. It probably started not even in the 20th century. It probably started, you see what I'm saying, post-Civil War.
Well, let me ask you a question, but then, you know, that leads me to this. Why do we need to be put under pressure in order for us to function independent of the white man?
It's like this. You got to realize the model of Willie Lynch.
Okay.
See, the model of they're still trying to get this mysterious thing. And Willie Lynch goes into how you make a slave, but nobody ever said what type of slave was made after the actual experiment went on. And it's simple. The slave that was made is simple as this. It was made into a child. And children, you understand what I'm saying? Not unless they have discipline, You see what I'm saying? They're going to play half the time.
Right. You ain't got no toys, you're going to make some shit up.
You see, and no responsibility and stuff like that. So only when the pressure comes down that they can shape. And so we got to realize that's what that is. Let us make a slave is let us make a child. Simple. You see what I'm saying? You know, it's not this type of mysterious monster. It's a child. You see, and that's what we are. Now, that might be good because children are more creative. You see what I'm saying? And children are more spiritual. Society, we can't run society now because we did that for millions of years. And so therefore now, because we're going to another plateau, we would be inferior. And we are inferior. We are inferior. If you notice, you said they're the CEOs. They're not the owners of them damn companies.
Right.
Right.
And most people black people that's successful in owning a company, they'll own it for a couple of years and then they sell it.
Yeah, like Bob Johnson, the prime example.
Right. So my point here is we are inferior to an inferior standard. So an inferior people, so another people, we are superior to something higher, but we're inferior to that which
they created.
No, which we created in the past.
Which they're mimicking.
Right.
Which they're mimicking.
Right.
We created this stuff in the past, but you got to realize one thing about our nature as a melanin people. Once it's been created, it's over. You have to go to something else, or otherwise it dies. So we are inferior on this particular level. We don't accelerate in things because we are inferior as a people. We don't accelerate things because we are gods trying to do human things. In the humanity, we've already done that. So therefore, I don't give a damn how beautiful the black business look. It's going to be slow. It's going to be some imperfections and stuff like that. Because the simple fact here is we're doing something, you see what I'm saying, that it's like trying to run a first grade classroom. I don't care how much, you see what I don't care how much that classroom, you got all the Play-Doh and the blocks and all that kind of stuff. If you fucking around with some blocks and you fucking 40 years old and you got some blocks and Play-Doh and an Etch-a-Sketch, you fucking around with inferior shit.
Right. My next level is the jump rope.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what we're talking about here. We are superior on the plane in which our DNA is suggest going, but we are inferior on some outmoded shit. You see what I'm saying? No, we will never. You see what I'm saying? We will never. We so bad in so many words. Why do you think they keep making all these movies where they have these zombies walking around? And one thing they can do is just eat you and just...
Yeah, that's true.
That's us. That's all we are now. We're a bunch of zombies. We're a bunch of zombies. There is no life, you see, left on this particular plane, and we ain't nothing but a bunch of laggards of zombies. You see what I'm saying? Now, outside of this plane, we are the gods, but on the human level, we are zombies because we have actually ascended already. Just our physical self have not transformed to that particular level of where the soul is. The soul is someplace else. You see what I'm saying? The physical aspect, you see what I'm saying, has to catch up with that. And until that, we're just a bunch of zombies.
So now, something where you pretty much saying it's over.
Yes.
It's over.
Shit.
Been over.
Yeah, shit, yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Been over. But it's not over in the sense that a tragedy is just beginning. We just got to realize.
Right.
School's over, summertime.
Yeah.
High school is over. College is just starting.
Right.
College is over. The career is just starting.
Right.
The career is over. The vacation time is just starting. We supposed to be on a fucking cruise.
Right. Picking the coconut instead of fucking planting the seed.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Camite was the seed and the tree.
But somehow we got hit in the head in the process. You see what I'm saying? And we look up and there's some people emulating us and trying to figure it out and doing a bad job at it, and we following them.
While they following us.
While they following us.
Right.
Are they looking for the example?
Right.
You see what I'm
Cause
saying?
you remember last time we was riding last night? I mean, isn't it amazing, man? Like our music.
Mm-hmm.
You know how now
White boys, it took them almost 30-something years to catch up with the headhunters from 1972, 73, 74.
Right.
Right.
They playing it now. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And 74 has been what? 34 years ago.
Right.
Right.
Since Chameleon.
Right.
Herbie Hancock.
Right. But they funking it, but like that's something that we already done.
And gave up.
And moved on to something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Cause they sure got it now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They sure got it now, man.
And that's the process.
Right.
We make and the world takes.
Right.
But in so many worlds, that's we give to them.
Yeah, cause
We provide for the world. That's what God does. It provides for His children.
World. Right. Did right.
And that's
Turn
what
our
we
head
do.
backwards. They do it.
We provide for our children.
yeah, cause I know it's like, cause I know it's now when you listen to a lot of these jazz stations all over the country, those smooth jazz stations. About 90% of the musicians you hear on there are white boys playing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, Alice
Right.
Bonyoung and
All that shit.
and all that. Most of them are white. Most of them
Right.
white boys playing on these stations there.
Right.
Bonnie James and shit.
Right.
You know.
They got breakdance competitions going on, or something that we gave up 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
That shit was 30 years ago, and we calling it hip hop.
In the skateboard industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's all types of things, you see. You know, we've given up.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But when it's a new art form, they can't even get it because it's being created and they're not on the creative level. It has to be created, put in a box,
And then they
homogenized, synthesized, and then they get it.
Right.
But when it's being new creation, it takes them about 20 years.
Right. Well, we're pretty much, you know, what do you think we as the conscious people, because the dead ones, we ain't gonna fool with them. What do we need to be doing right now?
A conscious person needs to be bridging the gap and trying to figure out how to function in two worlds. A galaxy that's coming in and a galaxy that's deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you gotta bridge the gap. And that might be the hard part. And you can make it hard based on looking at it as a physical thing, or you can make it easy by dealing with the mental thing. You can get around it. It's almost like they say, don't try to bend the spoon with your mind. That's impossible. Bend your mind around the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's in the Matrix.
Right.
So it's the same concept here, what's going on here. We got two worlds, and you got to figure out, actually just dwell on two planes. You got to figure out what's coming in and how it's conducive to you, and how can you sustain yourself on the deteriorating aspect, you see what I'm saying, so that it don't fall apart. And ultimately, that is the physical, that is the spiritual warrior right now. It's a battle in your mind and your surroundings around you. And one of the best ways to do it that can help you out is certain magic. In this particular case, when you get real good, it's also magical thinking. You see, magical thinking. You see what I'm saying? So you drop your wallet and realize your wallet is dropped in the store. You can even remember where you so-called put it. You didn't drop it. You left it on top of something. And the difference between being a victim of it is magically you can shield that wallet with your mind until you get back and pick it up, and nobody
We'll see it.
will even see it or even touch it.
Yeah. I've had it happen.
I've had it, and not only have I had it happen, I've had some people in Marshalls
Cell phone.
take it, put it on, put my wallet with $600-700 rent money, put my wallet under the counter. You see what I'm saying?
It was almost like they're waiting for me to come back to get it.
It was waiting for me to come back to get it. Had it locked away.
Cause I noticed something though, man. Cause I noticed something, man. When you truly conscious, you can really do some stuff, man, with your mind.
Yeah.
When you really conscious.
Right.
I mean, especially tuning in to people that you're close to.
Yeah.
You can almost know what they need and want without knowing the circumstances by which they need what they need.
Right. Or you can sit there and talk these people up, and these people will appear.
Right. Or the phone will ring or something.
Or something.
You know.
And certain ends might need to be met. You know what I'm saying? It might be small things you start with. You know what I'm saying? It might be small things we start with. you know, I said, man, I need to go buy Staples.
Wow.
And sure enough, she said, she commented, she said, man, that's wonderful, because Staples was right in the same, right next door to the place.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You see, my point here is, and a lot of things what happen was things will actually adjust around you. But the first thing here is you gotta have a mindset that this stuff exists, and these things are possibilities. So that's one thing about not sticking to the old mold of saying what ain't possible or not.
Right. Well, I always tell people you gotta be careful what you say. And definitely what you think. And definitely what you think. You definitely gotta watch your words and your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because it creates the things that you want.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, Bobby, man, I just want to backtrack this a little bit because you said something yesterday, and I was a little busy. But you were talking about McCain. You said McCain is dead, man.
Yeah. Any fool, most people, your grandmama can look and see when a man is dying. Anytime this man is unpleasant to look at, he look like one of them old cats with no hair on him, like Mr. Bigglesworth on Austin Powers. You know it's something wrong. And you got to realize it's spiritual for America to even look at this man and want to elect him president. You see what I'm saying? This man was behind in the polls, and all of a sudden old Barack Obama starts winning, and this guy starts winning, and it's almost like the weaker element started winning along with the stronger element. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, he finished. He might not last the summer.
I mean, is he sick?
Said, yeah. They say he got a tube running down his throat, draining all kind of stuff off from the melanoma. And he won't give his medical records up because he knows that he's a dead man. You see?
So, in your opinion, what was the strategy for even letting him run in the first place?
It was the spirit interceding. Like I said, the economy is in shambles. And believe it or not, the best Republican on that side for the economy was that guy Mitt Romney. He was a financial wizard.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to me that would be the person you would pick when
the economy's bad.
Not only that, when McCain said that he don't know nothing about the economy. That's the number one focus now, is your economy is about to collapse.
Right.
And you're going to tell me you're going to pick a candidate to say he don't know nothing about the economy after 8 years of an incompetent fool like Bush?
Yeah.
But that's the spirit. There's something that is going on spiritually.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? That they somehow, what it is this. They are afraid because of what Bush did. So what you do when you're afraid, you don't try new ideas out. You don't have that kind of faith. What you do is you try to stick to something that is similar to something in the past. So they are mistaking McCain, his war hero, the fatherly looking type of figure, and all this as security. And it is nothing but another form of inferiority, and he's about to die. But this is the reason why they voted him, because they are afraid. So they got their ass whipped with the Bush cat. So they don't know where to turn. You see what I'm saying? Because they put all the eggs in one basket. So what you do is you return to someone a little older. You see what I'm saying? In the aspect of a Ronald Reagan. You see what I'm saying? You return to somebody a little older and stuff as a form of security. Because it's not easy to figure out. That's the unknown. You'll fear the unknown of somebody new.
Right.
But something that can resemble an icon of something old, makes people more comfortable. So all of a sudden they started electing McCain for the Republican nominee, and he's the weakest thing going. You see what I'm saying? And the problem here is, again, the spirit interceded, and there's something that's clouding people's minds.
Well, let me ask you a question, man, because, again, I'm going to shift again. Do you really think, man, that was a conspiracy down there, that Natural Press building with your boy, Reverend Wright?
Yes.
For sure.
The timing.
Right.
Look, you can...
And Barbara Reynolds.
You can see that it was a conspiracy based on Friday. This man was impeccable with his particular Bill Maher
interview.
Mm-hmm. And by the time he gets to the press club, which is a bigger deal, that's private. You get to the press club, which everybody around the world is going to see, and you turn to a stark raving lunatic.
Well, actually, I didn't see it. What do you think did he do?
The nigga started clowning. He started making all kind of symbols. The nigga was hiding all behind him. He acted like, even if whatever he said made sense, the way, the actions and the stuff, the way he did, you understand what I'm saying, made him look like a psychopath.
Really?
Then, if you add white folks not understanding the black plight, and you saying these strange things to them, what it does is it delegitimizes what you're saying based on the way you're saying it.
Right.
Then you got to look at the timing. When they had clergymen from all over the country begged him not to do it. So this is not the time to do it. You mean to tell me you only need 1 month? You can come in June after the primary is over, and you can say this and get it out of the way, but you're going to wait till a week before a major primary and weaken your man? Thank God he's fortified based on the delegates.
Right.
So they can't touch him. But let's say if it was based on the popular vote, based on what the Republican side had. You see, they don't have the delegate thing on the Republican side. It could knock him out of the race. So my point here was, and here's a man that stood up for you and wouldn't even repudiate you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And wouldn't even denounce you. Even that has a certain amount of respect. Then you to sit up there and then to go before the press club, and like they said, everything that these people had saw in those snippets for the last month,
right,
he made become true. If the snippets showed him as a character, the press conference, he became the character.
I mean, really, I didn't say. I mean, did he really act a fool, man?
Acted a fool. Now, to conscious people, and you listen to what he's saying, you go, oh yeah, that's right. But you got to realize, for people hearing these concepts for the first time, that's been in this delusion that America can never do no wrong.
Right, yeah.
And they hearing this stuff, it's a shock to the system. Then for you to behave strangely, you see what I'm saying? It really makes you look like a psychopath. And then to do it at the timing you did it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and then to come to find out that the person who invited him is Hillary Clinton's supporter, Barbara Reynolds, a black woman who owed a favor. Then you understand that it ain't nothing but the doggone Clinton party that did this shit.
So in other words, you said it was a setup.
It was a setup. And he was in on it too, because they got to him, they either paid him off
Or threatened him.
or they threatened him. Well, we do know he had life-threatening stuff already. That was already said. He had to cancel the Texas thing because of the threats on his life. He's supposed to go and pick up some award from some college in Texas. But what about if they came to you and said $20 million? For people like the Clintons who made $100 million just sitting on their ass since 2000.
Yeah.
Money is no object. Plus, you got to realize this. We know that the Clintons ain't running it. We know that there's some global elite people running it. So the global elite people say, here, get this nigga $20 million. Give him 100. And people, he thinking, I'm really winning. I got $100 million. No, nigga. Money is no fucking object. You see what I'm saying? Money is no object. So they could have paid the nigga off.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a Judas thing. I think it's a lot of prophecy being fulfilled.
Really?
Yeah. Because, you know, that whole Judas factor, before it became the whole Jesus thing, that was some Egyptian shit out of Egyptian papyruses with the Gnostic thing. And they just came up with that whole Judas thing about 2 years ago, which is Gnostic text that predate the Egyptian story, which was just a barred story. And if it was some stuff that was in Kemet, they were talking about stuff from the future. In that particular case, he could be the Judas in this scenario.
Yeah, because like I said, I've always thought, man, like I said, when he came, but about what he thought about the AIDS and all that. Anybody that's conscious already know.
Everybody already know that, but for people who are hearing that for the first time,
right,
that's a shock to the system.
A extreme shock.
And see, this is the other thing too. My point here, and this is how you know that it is.
What it is.
It was he was forced to do it, and it was a setup. Because 2 days before that, he did a interview with Bill Maher that made him a saint. So if he said he got to clear his name, he successfully did it that Friday.
Right.
And then to come again that Monday and completely go opposite.
They must have got to him.
It meant that the whole thing, you see what I'm saying? He basically set it all up on a calm level, knowing that he was going to have to clown on Monday. You see what I'm saying? So he gave the real interview on Friday, and Monday was a saboteuring. It was a sabotage.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Straight up sabotage.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm saying, but at this point, man, you know, I don't think it's going to really hurt Obama now.
No, it's not. No, the beautiful part about the spirit world made sure that he was fortified before the initial Jeremiah snippets hit. He had already won against her when he ran off a string of 12 victories.
What's strange about it, well, this is what's strange about the whole thing. After Jeremiah did that, I think it was one or two people who were for Hillary rescinded and decided to go with Obama.
Yeah.
After that.
Right. Exactly.
So it may have backfired. I don't know.
Right. Not only that, this is what they're saying spiritually. Got to look at it. There's always a bigger picture. They can't run on the Jeremiah Wright thing in the general election with McCain because they've already shot their wad now, and it's over with. And he's repudiated, damn the man. He had to go ahead and denounce fucking Jeremiah Wright. But the thing about it here is, when the general elections start, which is basically after the primary, which is in August, it would be old news. Now, would you rather have this thing to come up with him going to the press club in September against McCain, or would you want to do it and get it over with a primary that he's already won anyway? So it was best to get it over with now. So even the spirit world, because they don't have no leverage now, because that was going to be their greatest thing. They was going to come after him with the Jeremiah Wright thing. First of all, if Jeremiah Wright hadn't opened his mouth, it had already died down. So if Jeremiah Wright going to be the severe thing that did happen, it's best that it happened in his primary that he's already won. So when they go to the general election, they don't have nothing to shoot on now. You see what I'm saying? Now McCain gonna croak, but hell, he's so fortified till he might not even have to McCain. He can beat McCain's ass anyway. But believe me, McCain is out of here. Because I do know white folks. When they look up and go, oh my goodness, we might have a black president, you might have a lot of white folks that will just say, fuck it, Democrats and all, we're going to vote for McCain. Because they don't want to face that. But they're going to face it anyway, whether they like it or not, because they never they should have told the nigga, we don't want you in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So, this fortifies it because McCain get ready to croak, so it won't be no thing that these people get scared.
So where would the votes go if McCain...
Well, whatever it is, they've already shot down all the other candidates. And you see what I'm saying? And either way, Barack Obama will be a stronger candidate. And if he dies after the convention, McCain, hey, you might as well just declare it a victory. But even if you have Mike Huckabee and all them try to run, it don't matter now. You see, these are people that you didn't even want to win. So therefore, oh yeah, Barack Obama will be a safe bet than somebody you didn't want to win.
Okay, now, just since we're on this, just say Obama does get the general election, who do you think they might try to put up to be his running mate?
I don't know. They say it's so nasty with Hillary till they say it might be irreparable. Because, you know, she tried to sort of kitchen sink and burn down the farm. It was so devious of the shit she was doing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It would have been nice for John Edwards to be thing, but he already said he's not going to do it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he already said he's not going to fuck with no vice presidency. Plus, you know, his wife got cancer or whatever, so, you know, he got to, you know, so who knows? Who knows what it could be? They were saying if you really want to get the votes, you put that Bloomberg guy, which is a Jew from New York.
Right.
Put him up to be running for vice president.
What?
You got to shoot him, Mike Bloomberg.
You mean Democrat?
Uh-huh.
Really? And now but he got the money too.
You put him up, he's a Jew. That's what somebody had already said. That would be the best ticket. The white folks already said that would be the best ticket for Obama.
What? Bloomberg?
Bloomberg.
Is VP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you really think that would be the move?
You can't lose. You can't lose. You put somebody that every white person like. You see what I'm saying? You know, I just heard them say that, you know. But whatever, remember now, like I said again now, this Barack Obama thing has nothing to do with us looking for a president to lead us into better times. We're only fulfilling prophecy. The spirit world has already got that covered. The prophecy was he's only representing the rising spirits that has already been in focus and already been coming before he even thought about doggone doing this thing. So he's only a representative of all the original people before they take back the planet in a spiritual sense. He's only an icon. So we're not looking for whatever he can do politically, because you can't do that. Hell, he can't change, bit more change this country than nobody else could.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You see.
Right. Well, look, man, we kind of winding down here, man, and we're going to go ahead, man, and roll this thing out, man, but I just want to say, man, that, you know, we just want to just get a little bit of information out there to the people.
Yeah,
just to try to invoke some thinking, you know, people think about some things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And everything.
Well, you know, everybody was in here batting their eyes. I was even batting mine for a minute.
Hey, man,
we had a day yesterday, but then the spirit came up in the baby.
Yeah, spirit I always do.
Always does, you know.
Always do, man. Yeah, and I'm glad, man, Brother Panic come down and hang with us out here in Maryland, man. You know, you got to come back down, brother.
Oh yeah.
You see how we do it, man.
Good time. Good time.
Yeah, well, it's good, man. Sometimes you got to, you know, bust out the L7 and get Brother Van and all that, man. You're going back to New York in the Mercedes-Benz, man. You're going,
going
man.
Back in style.
Yeah, you're going back in the Mercedes-Benz. That's all a good thing. Bobby said he's going to get some pig feet. Nah, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, we're going to go sit down and go get a little something to eat a little later on. Okay. Lakshmi, she going to get on her private jet and head back to Richmond. You know, and so everything is all good. So, anybody got anything to say before we go? Because we getting ready to roll this thing out, man. I will say this. Coming up with Cold Blue Productions, the one and only Delbert Blair will be here in Maryland. And a young and upcoming scholar, brother who I got a lot of respect for, Brother Arcia, will be in Maryland July 12th. Place to be announced. Delbert Blair, who to me has been revived, and he is dropping information that's very critical to your well-being in times like these. And we got the young brother, Brother Arcia, a little small brother, but he's a giant of a man. So we're glad to have him on the bill to come down to Maryland. And we're looking around September for the New York All-Stars, featuring Black Dot and some of the other A. Rashid. And we're going to reach out to Brother Griff, Professor Griff. And I personally want to get in touch with Oscar Bombada. I want a brother that's been in the hip-hop from the beginning to kind of do a chronological thing on the hip-hop. And the brothers can go ahead, man, to help deprogram this whole hip-hop thing that's got our young people messed up. So from Maryland, Brother TJ from Cold Blue saying peace, brother. Send them home, man.
Oh yeah, well, you know, like I said, it's always just trying to get some clarity on things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's always in our favor. So I just keep my mind open on how the stuff comes to us. You know, and just try to be open to see how it's unfolding. You see what I'm saying? But it is. And so it's a great day. It's a great time, you know.
And the name of this tape is called The Unfolding of the Illusion.
There you go.
The Unfolding of the Illusion. Again, Panic in the house, Sister Lakshmi, Brother Ron out of Brooklyn, got New York in the house. And from Bobby Hemmitt, we give you peace. We give you peace. Brother TJ, also known as Vishnu Brahma Bay, I definitely stand as a more, no other way. None of them other idioms fit me in no category. This was a bonus feature that we are adding to this expose called Unfolding the Illusion. This is the name of this piece with Bobby Hemmitt. Also, we had a guest in the house. We had Brother Panic in the house and Sister Lakshmi. And I tell you, man, it brought a whole nother energy, man, to me and Bobby bringing together this piece here. But me and Bobby coming back on tape, man, because something that we got to really make clear on where we stand as a people in these United States. One thing for sure, we are not citizens, okay? And we're going to make that clear. I'm going to bring Brother Bobby back on because we're going to discuss something that's a reality. And I'm going to go so far to say right here, and really I'm going to mimic the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, something he said about a year ago. He said a year ago that black people had about 3 years left to get themselves together in America or they're finished. Me and Bobby are going to come back on here and tell you why they're going to be finished, because things are shifting at a accelerated rate when it comes to black people. You know, everywhere I go, I see us around the country, we are on a serious decline. And we must change our thinking. We must change the way we do business with one another, as well as the way we do business with others. We can only save ourselves if we do it ourselves. We can no longer look to no other outside entity, outside people to rescue us. Everything starts with a shift in our thinking. And in some kind of way, we're going to have to develop a code of ethics in our community. We have none. We have become a people that's not, I mean, on the mass level, we are not bound by nothing. We just kind of like on an automated automaton, 5 senses reactors. We're nothing but reactors because we're not proactive. As I've said before in other pieces, we are right-brained, but we're almost at a point now where we're becoming lobotomized through apathy and indifference. My whole point is always to advocate that we become whole-brained people, use both right and left, because something we always had when we were children, coming up, our parents. A lot of them didn't have no education, no money, nothing, but they had common sense. Common sense has almost become, how would you say, Bobby, extinct? It's damn near extinct in black people. That's supposed to be a natural trait with us, because we're supposed to be spiritual people. But we're being shut down and altered in so many ways. So we coming from cold blue production, at least from my perspective, I'm coming one more time to try to shock you and inject you with some things that will help you go and look inside yourself. And you got to make the changes within yourself. We are evolving, and the acceleration of our involvement is being retarded by the things that we eat, the things that we drink, the things that we say, the things that we do. But I'm going to bring Brother Hemmitt back on here, and we're going to drop something on it that you really need to think about. Because as far as I'm concerned, we ain't got 3 years. We got maybe this year. Maybe this year. Because it may have seemed like black folks are on top. It's all an illusion. There are no black neighborhoods or no black communities in this country. We have all neighborhoods. We don't have no black communities. It don't exist. We are not self-sufficient. We are not prepared for any kind of tragedy that may come along. We're not ready for nothing. We're all caught up in the bling-bling materialism, and we are bought into this false paradigm. We even gave up our own spiritual thing. That's why I tell everybody, bring the drums back. We need to get back into the music. Even the white boy have synthesized our music, and we caught up on bullcrap. So anyway, the next face you see will be Bobby Hemmitt, and we're going to bring back some stuff to you I think will be very interesting and some things to think about. So until the next time, also, just want to remind you, July 12th, in the Maryland area, we're going to have Dr. Delbert Blair and Brother Arcea. This is going to be an awesome combination. I look forward to seeing Brother Arcea, a young brother who is a little small guy in physical size, but he's a giant of a man in my book. And I'm glad to call him my baby brother. So we're going to welcome him to the area, and of all over the city tape, whether you're in New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, you got to show up on that date and come support this brother and come to see Dr. Blair by himself. because he's going to give you all the technologies and all the things you need to shield yourself from this silent war that's being perpetrated on us through the frequencies, the ELF waves, the MK Ultra, all the chemtrails. You need to know what to do and how to protect yourself in the new daytime. So that's on July 12th. In September, the exact date to be determined, we are going to put together what I hope to be one of the greatest things of the 21st century. And that is a hip-hop deprogramming summit. And we're still trying to pull our players together. But for one thing for sure, we're going to have Black Dot. That's a given. Because the brother wrote the book, Hip-Hop Decoding. And I like to get a lot of people involved. I want my brothers to be involved. I want Professor Griff involved. I like to see Brother Ahmed Rashid involved. I want African Bada to be a part of this. Because he was a brother back in the beginning of this thing who could do a whole chronological on the area of hip-hop. We need to change the minds of our people by feeding something to their minds, because anytime you listen to anything over 3 times, it becomes an imprint. And these people listen to this messed up music day after day, all day long, and it becomes a pathology. And that's why we have a lot of people acting up, acting crazy, doing crazy stuff. So we are here to deprogram that other stuff by implanting some good stuff so we can, get back to our godhood and our God self. So the next face you will see will be Bobby Hemmitt. Also, I'm going to give a shout out to all the New York All-Stars. Brother Sarnetta, street warrior extraordinaire, Sarnetta. One thing that I admire about the New York All-Stars is that a lot of these brothers have taken something and that's how we all should function. We should become self-sufficient people and create what we need in our own communities. So I give a shout out to all the metaphysical teachers and all the brothers out there on the front line. So the next voice you hear will be Bobby Hemmitt. And until then, peace. All right, like I said, the next face you will see will be Brother Bobby Hemmitt. And actually, we had already concluded our expose on the illusion, the unfolding of the illusion, or the perception of illusion. Anyway, Bobby Hemmitt, we decided, we had a little conversation, said, look, we got to put it down on tape. So this is a bonus added addition to the sit down. And I'm just going to let Bobby, we're going to run with this thing, because people need to understand what's going on here. And Bobby, look, let's just go right on back to our conversation that we was having earlier today, that we just had to lay on this tape, because people didn't understand what's happening.
Interesting, we had this particular conversation about the whole Hispanic phenomenon. But before I go there, other things came forth. We decided to put this on tape, and then I realized one thing. Because we're in the middle of this election with the Barack Obama-Hillary Clinton thing. And the state of Nevada endorsed Barack Obama. But all of the Hispanic people in the state voted for Hillary, so she won the primary. And even your boy, this on HBO, what's the guy named?
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. On HBO, went to the Hispanic community and was asking them, why do you not support Obama? And they said they just didn't know why. He was like, y'all don't give a brother a break. But they're just basically into Hillary. And was Bush the last 8 years. So
they voted for Bush.
But when it all really came down, when they really had an expert come in, a Hispanic expert, he said that even Bush got leverage for one reason. He said this thing all started with the Clintons. He said the Clintons actually fortified the Hispanic community in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to understand, he was saying they remembered all this economic success and all of this, and then I realized, because all you have to do is go back, and in so many words, Bill Clinton was the person who basically replaced black people with the Hispanic community. Now, first of all,
he opened up the gate.
Not only that, look at this. He was the one that systematically, with a stroke of a pen, abolished the welfare thing.
Right, right, the welfare.
The welfare.
Right.
Then I realized what it was doing. In order for him to abolish the welfare, so you got to realize, the stroke of the pen might mean something for you. It might mean something else for the ruling elite.
Right.
And so, when he said he was abolishing welfare, and I said this back in the 90s, that the welfare was not a system. It's a system to you thinking, oh, the people to get in the system. But to the ruling elite, the welfare would be an actual people. So they would take a people and call those particular people welfare. Let me give you an example. Black people need some assistance. They go get on Section 8. Okay? But if you in the military and you have a nervous breakdown or go a little crazy, they give you a Section 8.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Everything is based on terminology.
Right.
So why is it that the Section 8, which was originally meant crazy people, or nervous breakdown, or mental illness, you see what I'm saying, became a subsidy
for black people?
For black people.
Right.
Which means that whenever they give you a subsidy, they say you're mentally ill.
Right.
Now Reagan, when they had a big homeless problem in the 90s,
right.
No, in the 80s, with white homeless. Remember the white people was homeless for a minute?
Right.
In the 80s? Right. And Reagan came out, and Reagan said, there is no need to be homeless. And they said, but they got homeless people. He said they're homeless because they're mentally ill. So he said they're crazy. In order for you to want, so in so many words they were saying this, in order for you to need government subsidies, or for order for you not to function in this society, means that you got to be crazy. It's a system.
But you know what, but it's funny though you said that, because every immigrant that come in this country, which is equivalent to the welfare. But the one big major thing is, the man can stay in the house. Now when black folks, black women was getting the welfare,
that's right,
the man could not be nowhere near. They had social workers that would come by and check, just to see if there was a man in the house.
We had to build a culture around hiding
men.
Now it's interesting here. Now look at this. Look at this. So they have these particular terminologies. So whenever they said that they was ending welfare, you see what I'm saying? They were actually saying we were ending a people.
Right.
That we call welfare. See, on one thing, you might think it's a system, but the ruling class, they say, well, these particular people here, we're going to label these people as welfare.
A designate.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So, as a result, when they said, when Clinton ended welfare, he actually, in so many words, replaced the black working class with the Mexicans.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And we can go as far as to say it's more than just replacing them with jobs. They actually got rid of black people, terminated black people's lives.
In other words, for the most part, black folks have pretty much exhausted their usefulness.
That's
on one level.
That's what they claim first, but you got to realize once you exhaust your usefulness in this country, the only thing else is extermination.
Exactly.
So my point here is, when I talk about the King Alfred plan, I say it already happened. Because my point here is this. Just take Atlanta alone. When you know they had that day where they told all the Hispanics, you don't have to worry, we're not going to deport you.
Right, amnesty.
The amnesty day, what, about a year ago, 2 years ago?
Right.
And just in Atlanta alone, they had something like 60, I forgot how many it was. It was in the millions.
Was that big?
That many. It was in the millions that came out. So my point here is, and that's in one state. What do you think about the rest of the country? And my point here is, if you have got that many people, they say something like 40 million people, then you got to ask yourself, where are the people that used to be there before these people started working?
Where they at?
Where they at?
Right. Just like when the people get thrown at the projects, where they go?
Where they go?
Because they're not moving upward.
They're not moving up. We don't see this economic boom with black people that we used to see the so-called underclass now rolling around that's economically stable.
Right.
We don't see them.
Right.
You see, so I'm saying the reason why the Hispanics are now voting for Hillary Clinton is not necessarily because they think that it's going to be better based on jobs. They are voting because the simple fact here is the Clintons made it a possibility that they can even be here. You see what I'm saying? All this thing about took jobs from black people. No, black people wasn't around for them to take no jobs from. You see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to say it's something else that's going on here that we have to understand with this whole thing. And I'll go a little further and say this. That obviously they must have had a plan to say that, look, one thing that has to happen in this country with black people is that they can never have an alignment or an alliance with the Hispanic community. So that means you got government forces and power elite people, or the elite, that said that one of the things that we're going to do, and I'm quite sure that it goes all the way back to the 70s, because I remember when black people started getting their civil rights, and even Tip O'Neill, right before he retired in the late 80s, said that they said, well, what do you think, what's the biggest thing you noticed in you being the Speaker of the House all these years, and your years in government? He said, the biggest thing that I found out was, he said that I've noticed a change. He said, where I was one place one time and was before something happened and after something happened. He said, I can assess the whole thing. And he said it was a civil rights movement. He said, I saw every group in the country gain greater civil rights from the civil rights movement than black people. And although black people was the actual cannon fodder, or the people that put on the front lines to deal with it,
right,
everybody else
benefited
from it.
Right.
So we all know now that the civil rights movement, most of the actual program came from the Jews.
Right.
From the Spengard brothers and the whole Jewish organization that started the NAACP.
Right.
And so Jews basically set up a civil rights system for themselves that they didn't want to go and take to the streets and get killed by. They set it up through black people. And as a result, the gays, the Hispanics,
right, the lesbians,
and
every other group, benefits.
Jews, and everybody to this day, even foreigners, benefit from the civil rights movements.
Other than
that black people were the people
was designed for.
Was the physical structure that actually caught the scunion.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? For this to happen. Tip O'Neill said every other group benefited. Well, in this particular case, they understood that they saw evolution of the Chicanos at the particular time out in California, actually coming up through civil rights, and it was like, hold on, wait a minute. The one thing that we don't never need to do is to have an ally with blacks and Hispanics. And so therefore the whole structure that we would have in modern day is set up so it won't be an ally. And the first thing you got to do is you got to build a mentality. The one thing about the Hispanics know, and we see this now with the Barack Obama thing. Hillary Clinton is a global elitist that's made $100 million since 2000. And you think she give a damn about some doggone raggedy Hispanics?
Right.
No, but for them, they think that she's a messiah. And Bush was a messiah because it was a mindset that was designed for them to say that black people are the enemy. Right. Although there's no evidence that we've ever done anything to them, but it's interesting here that and they talk about this, it's a breakdown, they said that the Hispanic community are influenced by the Mexican mafia. Now you got your MS-13, but you have your Mexican mafia. They say that they set the policies for the political agenda for the Hispanic community is set up by the Mexican mafia. Is set up by anybody in their community.
Or the government.
So what happened here is this. Now the Mexican mafia is run by the United States government. So all of a sudden the Mexican mafia all of a sudden put out on the street, attack black people.
Like they're doing in California.
In California.
Right, because what I was told, that the Mexican gangs are much larger and much more equipped than the Crips and the Bloods put together.
Right, because not only do you have an extension of the Mexican Mafia on the street, you also have MS-13 that goes through all of Latin America, even down to South America.
Right. That includes Colombia.
Right. So the MS-13 is the biggest, actually it's the biggest gang on the planet.
And they are the most vicious.
Right. But all of a sudden now, we see that the black community is under attack. They didn't start attacking, the funny thing about it, they didn't start attacking the Crips and the Bloods. They attacked the black community. And the Crips and the Bloods had to band together.
They said, oh no.
To even just to protect themselves.
Right.
So if any one thing came out of the whole shit, the Crips and the Bloods been doing all that killing for years. Now they in a fight for their fucking life, because now they got to band together just to survive.
Right.
But the Mexican Mafia sent word to start attacking the black community first. And guess where they get that from? The Mexican Mafia got that from the United States government. Because the United States government is the one that controls the gangs. Let me give you an example. Do you know that the Aryan Nation was started by the United States government?
Of course.
Let me show you what I'm talking about. They did a poll and they found out that the only true integrated society in America up until the 1970s was the prison system.
Mm-hmm.
They were truly integrated. There were no gangs and stuff at the particular time.
Right.
They were integrated. You see that in Shawshank Redemption. They was in there for survival.
Right.
Now, they looked up and they said, in order to do it, we have to segregate, because everything starts from a microcosm. So they said, in order to segregate the prisons, they created the Aryan Nation. And then all of a sudden, these gangs, which some of these gangs were created at Pepperdine University.
That's right.
The Crips and the Bloods.
All of them.
And these gang societies later on became separated in prison, but the Aryan Nation was the ones that was created to make a segregated society. And then it would permeate outside of the prison. And it was interesting here, and this is what happened now, because you know they basically destabilized the Aryan Nation, and they destabilized the Aryan Nation recently because they went against the code. The code was that you all are ruled and have a segregated society, and you would be the leaders of the segregated society in these prisons. So no matter how many gangs they got and stuff, you will be number one.
Right.
But what happened was, it all happened with John Gotti. John Gotti went into, when he first got into prison, he started paying off the Aryan Nation for protection. Then he got a little cocky and said, I don't need your protection, and stopped paying them off. So what happened was, the Aryan Nation said, oh, okay now, you don't want to pay us off. So what they did is they went to a black gang in the prison and paid the black gang members to beat John Gotti's ass damn near to death.
Yeah.
And then John Gotti ran back to them for their protection before he died.
Right.
And then the government looked at it and said, oh, now you all have come and started unifying with the niggas.
Right.
But what had happened was this. How did this unity come with the black people? The unity came was, the Aryan Nation looked up, and their whole concept, from its inception in the 70s or the late 60s or whenever it started, up until that particular time, it was just a racial pride group. And they looked up and said, you know, we sitting around with all these shamrocks and all this shit all over our bodies and all this racial pride. He said, but now we look in these black gangs and the Hispanic gangs have come together and have created a whole drug syndicate up under our nose, and we the only motherfuckers around here broke. We got racial pride. He said, but these niggas over here is getting cold paid. And they have come together and unified under the drug industry. And we around here talking about racial pride, but we the ones that's broke. And so therefore, so what happened was they allied. In order to get the drug industry right, they had to ally with the black folks. And when they allied with the black folks and stuff like that, it was that ally with the black folks that they could actually go to the black folks and say, beat John Gotti's ass. Mm-hmm. So they started making all this big time drug money. So what happened is they lost it in prisons, but the point here is the microcosm that was sending the message to the street to start attacking the black community before the gangs had to jump in was the Mexican Mafia, which was coming down the pipe from the government telling these people what to do.
Check this out. Now you said something, for those who don't understand, that the Crips and Bloods was created at Pepperdine University. Pepperdine University was dealing with mind control and behavior modification.
Right.
And the colors red and blue are triggers.
Yeah.
They are trigger colors. That's why one had red, one had blue. And that behavior mod, that behavior mod under the MK Ultra program, that's what caused them, when the members see each other in those colors, they will attack them under the behavior modification. This is the same paradigm with Democrat and Republican. Blue, red. It's the same fucking program. And you got to understand this stuff.
Right.
But anyway, man, look, this is what I want to throw out there to you. Because we dealing with these Hispanics today. You notice, man, a lot of times you always got these people, especially these so-called black legal stuff. Every time they be calling people black people, they always say the blacks and the Hispanics. And I'm saying to myself, damn those Hispanics.
Well, you got to realize, we live in two societies when it comes to black and white, separate and unequal. When it comes to Hispanics, we live in two societies, separate and unequal. But what we don't realize is one thing. The Hispanics have arrived. And number two, they have everything in their community.
Well, first of all, they have a community. They don't have a neighborhood.
Yeah, they have a community.
They have a community.
And I don't even go to say that black people don't even have a neighborhood. Black people have a storage unit.
Right.
What I mean by a storage unit is this.
They pay rent.
They pay rent, but right now on my street, and I looked at this thing and said, how does this thing be? I got a neighbor across the street from me that never even spoke to me, and he's been there for 6 years. So not only that, we don't have a community, because to have a community means you got to have communication.
Right.
And we got people living beside each other now in a community.
Don't talk.
You might get a wave, but I've never had conversation with these particular people.
I understand the same thing. I understand.
You see what I'm saying? My point here is that there's no such thing as community, because the root word for community is communication.
Right, and we have
communal living.
Right.
But a part of that is communication.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So my point here is there's no such thing.
Right.
As a community.
Right.
We have it's not even neighborhoods, it's storage facilities.
Right.
It's no different than the doggone storage house where you go and put your stuff in the storage and another put their stuff in the storage, and there's no communication, or it's impersonal. There's nothing spiritual about it.
Nothing spiritual about it.
Nothing cohesive about it.
And that's how the black, because even here in the Washington, D.C., you got a place called Prince George's County. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be one of the richest black counties, Mm-hmm. And these Negroes, to me, there is no ancestral or no spiritual connection to these niggas. They all, even the ones that's doing well.
Yeah.
Nobody communicates. There is no sense of nothing with these Negroes.
It's called post-modern society. Your whole world is based on within your house and your automobile, but the worlds never collide.
There's no cohesive anything.
Nothing.
And I know for the Spanish, man, it seems like in every city, in every state, Spanish folks have communities. They got their own every Spanish person comes to America. You might see them, man, people laugh at them, they see them out there, you're all ganged up at the 7-Eleven looking for day work. But that only lasts about 2 or 3 months, because after that, they got their own trucks. They got their own businesses after about 3 months, 4 months.
Right.
And they on top of the world.
Right.
And not only
that, you got to look at this particular part. We be laughing and grinning and stuff, because first we'll see a check cashing place open up, and we'll see the Hispanics cleaning up. Then about a year later, you see the people behind the glass taking up your checks,
your money,
and giving your stuff is the Hispanics.
Right.
They own the check cashing places now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They have actually replaced us, and they have a whole system set up from them. First it was the Jews, then it was the Arabs, then it was the Koreans that permeated the black community.
Right.
They got a whole system set up, and now they're taking over your communities, and you talking about we struggling together.
Right.
You ain't struggling together. They're the new boss.
Right. They ain't struggling.
They're not struggling. And my mother said years ago, who the hell gonna come from a poor ass country?
They come over here to join
up. They come over here to join with you poor Negroes. They're coming over here to raise up.
Right, and be over you.
And I don't give a damn what race they are. They can be blacker than you. They're not gonna come. They can be blacker than you. They're not El Salvador. To come to the ghetto in the black community.
To be with you.
To be with you.
And be poor on the bottom.
And be poor on the thing. If I want to do that, I could do that in El Salvador.
Right.
And raise up some stuff there that would be more conducive for me. So my point here is this whole concept of allies.
We don't have
and John Henry Clark say, if you count yourself in the world, you don't need no allies. But he did say this: you have no allies.
You have none.
You have no allies. So this is an allusion to going back. Now, to take for instance, in Atlanta, they have the big supermarkets here. Is what, Shoppers?
Well, big supermarkets, we got Shoppers, you got Giant, you got Safeway.
Okay, right. I don't know black people that have supermarkets nowhere in this country.
Nowhere.
Equivalent to a Giant. Down in Atlanta, it's Publix or it's Kroger. I'm talking about major conglomerate supermarkets. But I do know the Hispanics. Hispanics have a whole chain of a supermarket down in Atlanta, and they probably got them all over the country.
All over the place.
Just as on the same level as a Shoppers, a Giant,
right.
a Kroger, a Safeway if
right.
you're in New York or whatever have you. You see what I'm saying? It's the same level. We don't have those. You see what I'm saying?
Well, check this out. I mean, if you notice something, man, when you call anything, that includes information. Press 1 if you want English. So in other words, you got to press a button just to go back to speak English, because if you don't, it comes out in Spanish.
Comes out in Spanish.
So in other words, Spanish has really become the #1 language. And people don't even realize
it. See, this is the way it is. It's the #1 language among the subgroups. And what I mean by that is this. What I mean by that is this. Because white folks don't pay no damn bills in no stores
and walk in.
And walking in some places and stuff like that. They pay bills on the internet.
Or through the bank. Right.
You see, so they're totally
excluded from it.
Excluded from this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're talking about the English and stuff, they're talking about based on black people.
Right. Because most Spanish people, after they get here for a while, they become bilingual. They have to at some point.
Right.
Whereas we still speak English, English only. See, so they're catering more to them.
Right.
Because, like I said, they're bilingual. Bilingual, and not only that, man. Like if you go, like for instance, you pay your Sprint bill. You go to these stores. It's always just black folks and Spanish. But the Spanish people you see in there are your newly arrived immigrants. Because the Spanish people, they get on top. They don't go in places no more because they got their own shit.
They got their own stuff. And not only that. We could go to the media. You got Spanish HBO.
You got Univision. You got Telemundo.
Univision and Telemundo, and this is not like BET, which is basically a glorified video channel,
right?
Or a buffoonery.
Now you're talking about full-fledged networks.
Full-fledged networks with their own TV shows, own news things, on everything.
Soap operas, everything. Game shows, everything.
It's, you know what I'm saying. What's the name? It's never been on that level. It's subpar compared to
right.
These Telemundo and the Univision and stuff like that. Right. So the point I'm trying to make here is this illusion that we are in the struggle with a people that has already arrived and set up.
Already set up.
And, as you say, people that are actually citizens.
That's another thing. See, a lot of people, man, got offended when the U.S. government and they came on TV and called them Negroes refugees.
Refugees.
Because in other words, they thought it was being mean-spirited.
In Katrina.
Right. They thought it was being mean-spirited and degraded. But go ahead and break that thing down by being citizens, because most folks don't understand.
There was never any ceremony or any type of political thing to make us citizens. They just freed the cattle. They just freed the slaves. But there was never anything. We have privileges. But we are property of the United States government.
And privileges can be revoked at any time. Right.
You see what I'm saying?
But these other folks come over and get rights. And that's what they don't understand.
Every other immigrant to come over and they get their citizenship, they become one over us. Because we are not citizens. And we're not saying we're not citizens because we renounce citizenship. We're not citizens because we never had citizenship. No. We have privileges.
Right. In other words, your forefathers was emancipated from the plantation.
Right.
They was only transferred over to the other plantation, which is the United States government.
Government, property of the United States.
So they transferred from the private John Doe white man plantation over to the U.S. corporate prison plantation. So you're not a citizen. You are nothing but a social inmate.
Right. Exactly.
The masses of black people are
with
social inmates. Social inmate with privileges. Right. That can be revoked anytime they get ready.
Anytime they get ready. And I take for instance, I was talking about this the other day. The sister wrote me a month ago from Africa, and apparently because Ghana has this thing where you can go back to Africa and they got land set aside for anybody who wants to return to Africa. A lot of black people, not the rich black people, but a lot of black people who retired The government has looked up in the last couple of years and realized that they got literally thousands of black people who retired and moved to Ghana for the land. And all of a sudden, they retired. Their whole thing is based on retirement and Social Security and all of that. Well, all of a sudden, as of January, the United States Embassy put a halt on all giving them anything, no Social Security, no retirement. They say none of that. They put a halt on giving them their checks and told them, you're no longer part of the United States, so therefore we don't need to give you nothing. We work for that, but here then again, on the other hand, that would be something if you were a citizen. But if you are property,
right,
and the property leaves the United States, then that property has no right to get anything from the United States, and that's what the new thing is. They cut off all those black people's things. Tell them they got to return home.
And that's why they call you refugees.
Refugees. That's why they call it in Katrina.
That's why they call you refugees in Katrina, because see, you had nowhere to flee. You had nothing because you wasn't a citizen.
Right.
And see, black folks don't understand even though it sounds cruel, it sounds like, how can you call your own citizens? But you're not citizens.
You're not citizens. So this is another part that we got.
But let me drop this right quick, and I'm not going to get real deep on that because I don't have the subject. But there is a remedy for that situation for those who are not really citizens. There is a remedy called the UCC, and that's all I'm going to say about that. That can change your status with that. Holler at the brother at another time, another place, on the private side. Bobby, what was you saying, man?
Now, because there's a whole thing now with this election. And a part of this election here is, and if you notice, black people, not just because of Barack Obama, this happens every 4 years. Black people now are at the center of attention because of an election year.
Right.
Now, they even get ready to have a thing in July, a whole series on the life and the social structure of the African Americans on CNN, a whole story. They had postponed it. Supposed to came out in March. Now they're talking about June. And it's this big event going to say the state of where black people are. So they're focusing on black people only because black people, based on our privileges, have more on the ball on the voting thing than the Hispanics do at the particular time.
Right. Because
of us being here, and they gave us those particular privileges.
Right, for now.
For now. So what they're doing is they're courting us right now for this election thing, but you best believe
when that vote thing is over,
once this election is over, black people won't be the agenda because they've set the agenda the last 4 years, and the agenda is the Hispanics.
Yep, they're gonna become number uno.
Not only that, and the reason why they are the agenda anyway, and the only reason why we are in a symbol of an agenda is based on the Democratic Party and whatever delegates and whatever loyal hound dogs we have had over these years.
Right.
But soon as the election is over, there will not be no concern to the particular point of this, because we was replaced in the 1990s with the whole Hispanic thing. You see what I'm saying? Let's face it, they are the worker class.
Worker class.
Now, I will say that a lot of concerned black people over the years, starting from the late 70s, was saying that you needed to take an advantage of either the college education. Well, no, it's unrealistic to think that every black person can go to college. But I remember this, though. Where I grew up, I entered high school in the 70s. And I remember this. They had schools. They had schools where they had vocational schools. And you didn't have to go to college, but they had it where you could go and you could get trades and stuff like that. And so, and what they was trying to tell black people, look, you need to get a particular trade because when it comes to the worker force, that's going to be replaced.
Completely.
Completely. Now, I'm not talking about being on these, everybody need to go. No, they had, I'm talking about some of the trades that they had in these schools. And up north, they had even more opportunities, and they had trades in these particular schools and stuff like that. Hell, I know a boy right now, refrigerator and air conditioning.